questions.
Okay, this week, and to be honest, in previous few weeks as well, I had few observations.
Good.
So, first observation was whenever I was faced with something overwhelming, I tend to have a lot of bad feelings.
Something overwhelming, right?
Yeah, at work or anything else. What I
How do you know they're bad feelings?
Sorry?
How do you know they're bad feelings?
That's the thing. I don't know, but yet I categorize
Okay,
them as
good.
bad feelings.
All right, stop doing that. Don't do that. Forget good and bad.
Yes.
Good and bad are not for humans to know.
Yeah.
So keep going.
Yeah, what I observed was the avoidance. The hidden way I avoid is when I'm analyzing it. I have seen it especially when there are some symptoms, then I just resort to my mind and keep analyzing it. That is, I believe, again a form of avoidance.
That's hell on earth. I mean, the mind is bad enough as it is, and if you use the mind to avoid reality, you'll just create a hell for yourself. Reality is the only thing we have, and the mind is not reality. And so if the mind is enough trouble just doing what it usually does, fantasizing about the worst that could happen, or this is going to happen, or this isn't going to happen, and this is going to, come to pass and all that, that's just garbage that the mind spews. Forget your mind and just be there with reality. Now, if there's a reality of a feeling, don't turn your back on it. Just look at it. Don't judge it, good or bad. Just look at it. And but since you have some observations, I guess, including, which is a really good one, to notice that you're avoiding a feeling or avoiding a series of thoughts. This is your chance to grow a pair and to face it. And then you'll find that it just vanishes like a puff of smoke. But go ahead.
So what do you mean by face it? Like, for example, if you are in a situation...
Don't avoid it. Let's say you feel hatred.
Yes.
All right?
Yeah.
Now, that's a curious thing. Why would someone feel hatred? Well, you might feel hatred. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to use... I don't know. I don't want to use Pakistanis. We could use Tibetans. For some reason, you find that you hate Tibetans. Yeah. Now, that's a curious thing. Where did that come from? Were you hanging out with the Chinese? Were you hanging out with people who hate Tibetans? Because that's not a natural state. You learned that somewhere. Right? So it's curious. And in any case, that feeling of hatred, you can say, well, what does that feel like in my stomach? What does that feel like in my legs, and my arms, and in my chest, and in my head? What a curious thing to feel. And what a curious thing to have directed towards another human being. And so instead of hatred being something that you're trying to avoid because you don't want to feel guilty for being the bigot, or for being racist or whatever, you say, wow, this is interesting. Where did that come from? What is this feeling? Does my heart rate increase? Does my muscles tighten up? Does my jaw tighten? What the hell's going on here? So you're a scientist now, you're not a politician, you're a scientist. You're not you're not a choir boy. You're a scientist of your own mind.
So one thing about this though, but there are certain situations, like someone violated your privacy or anything, because of which you do get angry. Isn't it better to give in to these feelings in such situations? I know this is hypothetical.
Right. Well, what does anger accomplish? And anger is like hatred. It's there to be studied, not to be acted on.
So my question...
I mean, what purpose does anger ever serve?
Maybe it enforces the boundary.
Oh, well, if you're going to attack, then yeah, it does serve a purpose. Are you going to attack? Imagine a predator and it's trying to hunt its prey.
Okay.
Or imagine you're the prey and you're trying to run from the predator. Why would you, what purpose would anger serve?
Anger?
Or even better, because this here it might serve a purpose. Let's say you're in a battle to be alpha, I don't know, elk or alpha lion or something. Then you might, anger or something like anger might be useful in a fight. But anger just created by the mind, I'm trying to sort out where it would be useful.
So
Could you give an example? Getting angry at your boss, getting angry at your employee?
Yeah, no,
Does that help anything ever?
No, that won't help.
Would you need to be angry to change your passwords so someone doesn't avoid somebody doesn't invade your privacy? Or do you need to be angry to say I'm not going to associate with that person anymore because they invaded my privacy? You don't need anger for any of that. So again, you could just study it. Yeah. Unless you could give me a situation where anger is useful. Now, okay, that's hard. But now give me an example of where anger makes a person make mistakes. Or anger clouds the judgment.
That's a lot. I have observed it myself. I feel frustration, which is kind of a form of anger.
Okay, so what's the upside to anger? We know the downside. The downsides are enormous. You could destroy, in one flash of anger, you could destroy 20 years of work. You could destroy your reputation. You could end up in jail. You could destroy your relationship with someone you truly love. Right?
Yeah.
So we know about the downsides because you've studied patience, right? Forbearance.
Yes.
Okay, so you know that just from learning. Now tell me what the upside could possibly be.
Upside could, like I said earlier, just enforcing personal boundaries. If someone were to encroach on your personal boundary, maybe they just hit you unannounced.
Well, you don't need anger to reinforce a personal boundary. So listen, why not just decide, I learned as a young man that anger was stupidity. And say to yourself, and mean it, that I'm going to live my life without anger. Now, if I'm in a physical fight or something like that, that's different, but that's not really anger, that's something else. But this anger created by the mind, or, I've been victimized or whatever, just decide once and for all that you're not going to live your life that way. I'm sure you see plenty of examples of anger in India. Yeah,
no, I have seen it in myself in the form of frustration, or I don't act on it.
No, but look at it in somebody else. Look at it in somebody else.
Yeah.
And you'll see how idiotic they look.
Yeah.
Anger is very unattractive. So, and it's also totally optional. And it's useless. I mean, unless you can give an example. If you're enforcing your personal boundaries, you can do that without being angry.
I guess.
Even fighting. Look at it. Look at the best boxers or the best kickboxers. Do they fight with anger?
No.
If they do, they lose. If they do, they lose.
Yeah.
So just say, I'm not going to this anger thing is just stupidity and I'm not that stupid. So, just get rid of it.
I think I may have moved in the wrong direction. What I actually wanted was...
No.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so earlier I posted an example, right? Or talked about an example where I was feeling something bad happening or unpleasant feelings, and I resorted to avoiding it via analyzing it. Wouldn't this lead to just passiveness, like doing nothing about it? If I keep just
It very
analyzing.
well could. It very well could.
So, how do you balance this out? Like avoidance at the
You
same
think
time, not
you
letting
think
go.
to yourself, I've only got one human life that I know of. And I'm told by old people that it's very, very short. I've also been told, and it makes sense to me, that to waste a human life is the worst thing a human could possibly do. And you need to think about that. Is it true? But to waste it, I do not want to be one of those humans who looks back when I'm an old man or an old woman and say, oh, I wasted my life. And that'll give you some perspective. And why waste your life? So a woman or a man that's a real person they want to see reality. They don't want to avoid reality. You can't avoid reality in any case. Reality will always win.
I mean, everything's...
Now you've made up some things. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say everything is part of a reality. The thoughts, everything is present in my awareness. But again, I digress.
Well, then why do you call some of them bad and some of them good? And why do you run away from some of them?
Habit. Automatic.
Okay, well, you could create the opposite habit. All you have to do is do something differently. Do it, a few times. Repeat it, and now you'll have a new habit.
Yeah.
The habit of curiosity, the habit of exploration, the habit of being a real human being instead of like some little, there's man children out there. There's 60-year-old men that act like children.
So, related to this, I had a question from Teachings of Zen.
All right.
So this is about the chapter Delusion and Enlightenment, page 143.
Okay, I don't have that book with me, so just read it, please, slowly, so anybody listening can hear it.
Yes. So here it goes. When deluded, you are deluded about the contents of enlightenment. When enlightened, you are enlightened about the contents of delusion. When delusion... yeah.
These guys are clever. Go ahead.
When delusion and enlightenment are both forgotten, it is like a man cutting off his own head. If his head is cut off, there's no one to do the cutting. If you see this clearly, right away you will have no second thought. An ancient said, clearly there is no enlightenment. If there is any dogma, it is delusion. When you get here, you can't take a stand and you can't stay. If you take a stand, you will be in peril. If you stay, you will be blind.
If you take a stand, you will be embattled?
Peril. P-E-R-I-L. Peril. P-E-R-I-L. Peril.
Peril, yeah. If you take a stand, you will be in peril, in danger.
Yeah.
Go on.
If you stay, you will be blind.
Correct.
Just do not react automatically to the outside world, and do not take refuge in voidness within. Do not pursue trivialities outside, and do not stay in trance inside.
Good.
It is imperative that ideas do not inhibit mystery. Expressions do not inhibit ideas.
Ideas do not inhibit mastery?
Mystery.
Or mystery. Okay, mystery. Good.
Expressions do not inhibit ideas, and functions do not inhibit potentials. Once these three things are clear, they naturally appear everywhere without need for concentration. Naturally clear everywhere without need for special attention.
Good.
It's in this state.
There's a lot there. Keep going though if you want.
Yeah. So in this state, frequently meeting is not intimacy. Transcendent aloofness is not estrangement. When dealing with them accordingly, one is not obstructed by events. When sitting quietly, one is not lost in the noumenon. Being the master wherever one may be, one finds the source in everything, appearing and disappearing, now reserved, now expansive, having attained great freedom. And yet, one must know there is an opening beyond.
Good. Perfect.
So, with what we were talking earlier, I had this thing. So, there is this para where it says, just do not react automatically to the outside world and do not take refuge in voidness within.
To avoid the emptiness within, or don't get lost in a meditation trance.
Yeah,
Even if you're walking around. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the first part is something that we discussed right now, right? Do not react to things, like just.
Well, the first part is that there is no dogma in enlightenment. There is nothing. There's no dogmatic belief that you hold on to. That's a very important. Enlightenment is not about belief. It's beyond belief. So, they deal with that in the first part of the passage, but let's keep going. Which part caught your mind?
What does it mean to not take refuge in voidness within? Like I was equating.
Okay, there are some people who get so wrapped up in themselves and the mind and the contents of their mind, or the emptiness of the content, that they get lost in there. It's Zen Sickness. It's a form of Zen Sickness, right? It's like if you don't get off the donkey, that's sickness.
Okay.
And you are the donkey. What book is that? It's like in the first passage of one of the books. I think I forgot. So in talking about Zen Sickness, what is to go looking for a donkey when you're riding a donkey, and then to not get off the donkey, and then it explains that you are the donkey, right? So that's just you don't have to worry about that. It's like getting lost in that would be like nihilism in its different forms. Now, if you're sitting there 12 hours a day and you're just meditating for 12 hours a day, and that's all you do is sit there with a vacant stare and an empty mind, that's getting lost in voidness. But if you're walking around, doing walking meditation while you're in the world or whatever, and you're just wrapped up in your head and you're not paying attention to what's going on outside, that's also getting lost in voidness, right?
Okay.
It's just a warning against that kind of sickness. I don't think you're in danger of it.
Yeah. I don't know whether I should put it here. From what I have understood, or I don't know whether understanding is a good word here. It's just that there is a thought framework about everything in this world, yet it can't contain the reality that is present right now.
Correct.
A good example.
Because reality is beyond thoughts.
Yeah, and that is exactly why we have a lot of paradoxes.
Yes.
A lot of things, because it's just mental constructs or concepts trying to. They can certainly point to these things. They can certainly point to reality. That's how everything is. But they can't explain it.
Correct, because you get trapped up in paradoxes. Exactly.
So I had this thing. I think in our last.
And you know that there's mathematical reasons, right? And there's logical reasons why that's true.
Yeah, the Gödel's incompleteness essentially breaks down everything.
Okay, good. All right, right. So that's one of many reasons why you're not going to find reality in thought or in logic or even in mathematics, which is a hard pill to swallow, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think last when we were talking last time, we were talking about Wittgenstein's ruler.
Yes. Tell the audience what that is. Wittgenstein's ruler. Wittgen or something like that. Wittgenstein's.
Yeah. So I think this is after the philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein, I believe.
Yeah, the great 20th century philosopher. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and it is a concept that highlights the fundamental assumptions about measurements.
Correct.
So core idea is, if you use a ruler to measure a table, you're not just measuring the table, you're also assuming the ruler is accurate.
Yeah, so you're measuring the ruler too.
Yeah. So that's a really
it's the
big
relativity of all measurement. You
Yeah.
can't measure something unless it's relative to something else.
I was pondering about it, like about this. We have those SI units, right? Where we say a meter is something about, like, standardize it across everything.
SI units?
Yeah.
What does SI stand for?
I forgot.
Standard International?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, okay, go ahead. So we have these units: a meter, a centimeter,
yeah, where
a
they
millimeter,
define
a nanometer. Go ahead.
Yes, they essentially define what it means for something to be of length 1 meter, or what it means for something to take 1 second.
Okay.
But essentially what I wanted to say was, all this measurement is, at the end of the day, a tool for communication. It's a tool for having everyone on a same page.
More or less, yeah. Unless they're moving and approaching the speed of light or something, okay. Or unless they're at the very, very small scales or very, very large scales. But yeah, okay, it's close enough. That's right.
So
it's a way to communicate relative things.
Yes, but at the same time, so all this assumes that what I am seeing and what you are seeing are similar, or same, not even similar. But that is a really big assumption to make, in my opinion. It's like...
It's false. That's a false assumption, of course.
Like, for example, just in my awareness, I know what color red is. But I don't have any proof that in your awareness, you will see that same color.
I'm telling you, it's a false assumption. It's totally a false assumption. When I see a tree, I see a brother or a sister or a cousin. What do you see?
I just see tree, leaves.
Okay, so there's no way we see the same thing.
Yeah.
This is what we mean by saying each man is a universe unto himself.
I'm just pointing out, like, there's no way to know this, verify this, because I cannot, like...
There is a way to verify it, but you have to do it yourself.
But how can I be aware of someone else's awareness? Like someone...
Forget about that. Are you aware of your awareness? No, that's not important. The reason... Okay, what you're saying is not important. We don't have to see the same thing.
Okay.
Where did you get that idea?
No, just...
And people don't anyway. Okay, the Sufis teach about this. Okay, a man who is... Okay, let's say there's a loaf of bread on the table.
Yes.
A man who is hungry sees something totally different than a man who's not hungry.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this idea that we're all going to see the same thing. You need to give that up. Especially as you get closer to truth, because 99% of the people around you are going to have no idea what you're talking about, and they're going to care even less. And those are the unfortunates, right? They're going to live their life thinking, well, why did I live this life? What was it about?
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah.
Because you die alone, right? You die alone, ultimately. Just like you're born alone. In the deepest sense, I'm not trying to be morbid here.
Yeah. Yes. About that, I was contemplating a bit about it, about birth and death.
Good.
And again, some thoughts popped up about my childhood memories, but I know that those are just memories that I'm seeing right now. But
Okay, good.
the
Go on.
really weird question is, like, I am aware of things. What does it mean to not be aware of anything at all? Like,
Who's asking?
who's asking?
Yeah. Or to not be aware of anything at all. I mean, who's got that as a serious question? I mean, I could give you anesthesia and ask you later when you wake up what it was like. I could put you to sleep with no dreaming. I could ask you, well, what's it like not to be aware of anything at all? Why does it matter?
Because I want to know what I was before birth and what.
Were you okay? Okay, good. But that's not being aware. That's being infinitely aware. That's being aware of. That's even the word awareness falls apart. So you've got this fantasy that you were not okay. So examine the assumptions in your question and your proposed solution to your question.
Okay.
Okay. So you wanted to know. You thought, oh, well, if I know what it's like not to be aware, then I'll know what it was like before I was born and after I die.
I can only speculate about past and future.
Yeah, you speculate. Okay, you're speculating, and you're basing that speculation on some really wild assumptions. So examine those assumptions.
So a question here: how can I penetrate this question of birth and death at all? Because at present I am definitely.
All you have to do is wake up, my friend. Just wake up, and it'll be obvious. Move beyond birth and death.
Okay.
But before you're going to do that, you got to get rid of all kinds of other things like right and wrong, hope and fear, hot and cold, all of the relative stuff, because we're not talking about relative things anymore.
But I can.
Now we're talking about something absolute.
But here's the thing: I can't force this. Like, I can't force myself to.
No, you can't force it. No, you can't force it. All you can do is live a good life and seek sincerely and honestly, and you don't have to worry. The key is the sincerity of seeking. More and more, as I get older and older, I see that is the key to everything. And so I think as Jesus says, knock and it shall be opened for you. Seek and you shall find. But it has to be sincere. And sincerity is very hard to come by. Think about how many things you're actually sincere about in your life.
I guess I am.
Well, if you guess you're sincere, then you're not. That's not sincerity. Sincerity is wanting truth above everything. And the truth will set you free. And will give you peace. It's the only thing that will give you peace. You're not going to find peace in your mind. You're not going to find peace in your relationships with others. You're not going to find peace in society or in religion. I think it was Jesus says, it's peace I bring you. But he didn't mean that, he was handing it out like cookies or something. If you followed his way, then there would be peace. The same thing with the Buddha.
But, okay. There always comes a doubt that says, what if they are wrong.
See, there always comes a doubt. A doubt about what?
Doubt about
That you're going to waste your life? Is there any doubt that you're going to waste your life if you keep just playing around with little marbles and jacks and playing cards? I mean, isn't that kind of obvious you're going to waste your life?
that one's obvious, but what if you
Okay,
are
if you're going to waste your life if you're just wrapped up in your mind with its endless problems and its endless fantasies about both the future and the past? Isn't it clear that you're going to waste your mind of your life if you just focus on things that are relative?
is it like, suppose you are working hard for at your work and giving it your all, is that wasting your life?
Hey, you're damn well right. You can waste your life doing that. Sure.
Then
You're
how,
working real hard at the bank, right? You're comparing yourself to the S&P, or you're trying to beat somebody else's hedge fund. You can easily waste your life.
then how to know that you're not wasting your life? Because
Don't seek anything relative.
what does it
If you're
mean?
a seeker,
What does it mean? What does it mean to not speak anything relative?
don't seek anything relative. Truth is not relative.
Okay.
So don't seek anything relative. Seek beyond your human life. That's what man was designed for. I mean, isn't that obvious? Isn't that self-evident?
What does it mean for me to?
You're so lucky, man. In the history of the world, and even in this world currently, you're so fortunate to be positioned to where you have enough money, you have enough support, you have a roof, you have food, you have encountered the Dharma, which is very, very rare. You're intelligent enough to absorb it, and so you have a choice. Do I seek truth, or do I seek peace? They're the same thing. Or am I really just someone who just wants to jerk off in my mind for the rest of my life, go around and around in circles, replacing one problem with another problem?
Yeah, definitely that won't solve at all. I know, like, for
Okay, so that's the answer to your question.
Yeah.
Now, is it easy or hard, this path? It really depends. How hard is it for you to be sincere? That's the only question. If you're sincere, it will be open to you. If you're not sincere, it will not be open. The door will remain closed. The Buddhists even call it the gateless gate. I think it was Jesus who compared it to a door, and once again, knock and it shall be open. Ask and you shall receive. But you have to be sincere. Sincerity is so rare in this world.
Mm.
And it's only the sincere man who that truth will even glance at. Without sincerity, truth just passes you right by, just like it does everybody else. Won't even give you the time of day.
Okay.
The interesting thing is that you can genuinely seek peace because you've suffered too much from lack of peace. You can genuinely seek truth because you're sick to death of falsehood. And you know it won't work because you're intelligent enough to look around.
Yeah.
But you have to be so fortunate. You need a human birth. You need other things usually, to live in a culture where you could possibly encounter the Dharma. Then you have to have reasonable physical circumstances, usually, not entirely. So, I mean, it's very, really straightforward, my friend. You have another question?
Yeah.
And all that Zen passage that you read, all it was doing, it was pointing out dangers along the path, and things that serious students need to keep in mind. And one of them is getting lost in voidness, becoming some new age, vacant, quote, spiritual person. Yeah. This is not for sissy, and this is not for people that are trying to avoid their lives or their reality.
Yeah, no, avoidance, no. At least I can definitely observe the avoidance these days.
Yeah, so if you have feelings that you think are nasty, hatred or whatever it might be, don't run from it. Say, that's interesting. I guess I got to digest this too. Because if it comes from thoughts, then it's garbage. Not entirely, but you know what I'm saying. What percentage of thoughts do you think are useful, really?
Not a lot. Most of them are about me, about what it feels to
be. It's just garbage. It's just garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't even help in the task at hand.
Right. You'll never find peace in thoughts.
Unless I'm so immersed in solving that problem that I forget about myself.
But see, that's a temporary peace.
Yes.
Who wants temporary peace?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Another question?
Yeah, I have a question from Total Zen, Instant Zen.
Okay. Good.
So this is from the chapter Emancipation, page 16.
Wait a minute. Let me see if I'm correct. Could you go to the first page of that book?
Are you talking about the
text
thing?
What's the first passage called?
I think it's not the first passage. I think it's the chapter is Zen Sickness.
Okay, good. How long is it?
1 page long.
Can you get to the part about the donkey?
Yes. Yeah.
And he says, in my school, there's only one kind of Zen sickness or something like that, right?
Yeah. So in my school, there are only 2 kinds of sickness. One is to go looking for a donkey, riding on the donkey. The other...
I love that. Go ahead. Next.
The other is to be unwilling to dismount once having mounted the donkey.
Yeah, unwilling to get off the donkey. Okay.
You say it is certain...
So those are the 2 sicknesses. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So you say it is certainly a tremendous sickness to mount a donkey and then go looking for the donkey. I tell you that one need not find a spiritually sharp person to recognize this right away and get rid of the sickness of seeking, so the mad mind stops.
Good.
Once you
keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yes.
You're looking for a donkey while you're riding the donkey. But you are the donkey. Okay, keep going. He says it. Keep going.
Once you have recognized the donkey, to mount it and be unwilling to dismount it is the sickness that is most difficult to treat. I tell you that you need not mount the donkey. You are the donkey. The whole world is the donkey.
Yes, there you go.
How can you
You
mount
are the donkey. The whole world is the donkey. Keep going.
If you mount it, you can be sure the sickness will not leave. If you don't mount it, the whole universe is wide open. Yeah.
Okay. So just have that in your back pocket.
Yes.
And walk around with it. What does he mean? You are the donkey. The whole world is the donkey. But all right, go ahead. Now you had a question. I'm sorry. I love that passage. I think it's funny every time I hear it. And I've heard it many times. Keep going.
Yeah.
These Zen guys are great. They're really good at this. Making it memorable. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so this one's from different chapter, Emancipation.
Okay.
page 16. In ancient times, a Zen worthy asked an adept, "What is
A
essential?"
Zen worthy.
Yes.
That's something that people may not, because the auto translate is so bad. I mean, the auto caption. So a Zen worthy. All right, keep going.
Zen worthy, yeah. What is essential for emancipation? The old adept said, "Fog is rising from your feet, Reverend." At these words, the Zen worthy suddenly got the message. I did not get this at all.
Well, that's understandable because fog rising from your feet could mean many different things. But let's try this. What if the fog is basically like lack of clarity, lack of it's a mitote. It's something that he should know better about. What was the question originally?
The question was, what is essential for emancipation?
Yeah, if this guy doesn't know that, right? This Zen worthy.
Yes.
Is he the one who's asking?
Yeah, that's what he was asking. What is essential for
emancipation? So that guy's not. I mean, is he a worthy really if he doesn't know what's essential for emancipation? I wouldn't get hung up on that. That's more advanced. That's more about teaching and teachers.
Okay. Yeah, I think what you said kind of like.
Now there may be, there may be some specific reference to a specific Zen koan, in the Blue Cliff record or something that I'm unaware of. So I can't say definitively that's all it means. But that's one of the things it could be.
Okay.
These guys make references to older text.
Okay.
Like if I say my eyebrows are falling out, most people wouldn't know what that means unless they'd read some other Zen koans. But what it means, just for the record, is that if I share too much about some of these koans, then I basically ruin them for the student. And that's a sin, right? You don't want to do that. These are very, very beautiful and precise sometimes, and exquisite instruments, and you don't want to ruin them for the student.
Is it even ruining that at all, or more like more conceptual understanding? That is something that Zen don't want to do that.
They don't want the conceptual understanding. I mean, conceptual understanding is important in the beginning. And yet conceptual understanding is important for avoiding pitfalls. Like riding a donkey when you are the donkey and the whole world is a donkey. See, but there's other things though that are. Let me see how to word this. There's the sudden when finally something makes sense and it pops into your brain, it can wake you up. That's what they don't want to wreck. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean, these are instruments that you could conceivably wake up from reading these. Or you're walking down the street and you finally understand one, and it goes off like a cherry bomb in your head. It's like the Mullah Nasruddin. You don't want to spoil it. It's like a magician telling you how he does his tricks, or someone telling the punchline to a joke, before the joke's over. But of course, these aren't jokes and these aren't tricks. These are time-tested means of waking people up. And in Zen, they're really, really preoccupied with just that, waking up.
Okay.
So the first time you wake up, right, and even in the smaller times before that, you're going to have increased understanding. Okay. This is a process. It's a journey. It's a lifetime, even after waking up. And it's the only life I can imagine that's worthy of the human. Yeah, got it. So, yeah. Just one more question or more of an observation, and I had a question around that. Okay, go ahead.
So this one was like, I think this happened few days ago, where I was thinking about interdependent origination. And
Excellent.
what I saw was, when I think about it, I just first think about independent components first, and then
Right.
realize that none of these components are independent of one another. And
Very good.
therein lies the
And
problem.
they're dependent on something else, and they're dependent on something else.
Yeah, but again, that's the thing.
Then you get to the Metavindra,
But again,
and then you get to a better understanding of the universe we're in.
yeah, but at the same time, I made the first initial assumption that there were independent components. But in reality, like, how do you comprehend everything is related to one another? Like, everything.
It's okay. First, I mean, for me, what was useful was contemplating the Metavindra and realizing it was true.
That
Because
I agree with. That
if I'm made of, well, I mean, I could go on for like probably days of all the things a tree's made of. But then I could go on for days on what those things are made of. And then I could go on about what those things are made of. And they're all interconnected, and they're part of one seamless reality. Now, that's not an easy thing to absorb unless you've spent time, just like you're doing, contemplating. But the other thing you can contemplate, now this one we don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if this universe is holographic. Now, what's the key feature of a hologram? The whole thing is contained in any part of it, right?
Yeah.
And then when you realize the relativity of size, for example, that there is no large or small in this universe. There's only imagined large and small by the human mind, right? Because we do everything relatively.
Yes.
So relatively, there may be large and small, but in absolute terms, there's no large or small, big or tall or short or whatever. So this is the process of learning, but no one can hand it to you. If you want to understand this, no one can hand it to you. It's only after weeks or months or even years of like contemplating this and saying, "Oh wow, it must be true." It's not, "Oh, maybe it's true." If you realize it has to be true, and that's one step closer to reality, right?
Yes.
And then when you study the colors or the shape of an object or whatever, and you realize, well, wait a minute. So this signal, this light waves are being transduced in my retina, and then they're being sent in digital form to my occipital cortex, more or less digital, right?
Yeah.
And then the occipital cortex is doing a little bit of processing and sending it to the frontal cortex through the midbrain. You go, well, wait a minute, there's no apple in there anywhere. And there can't be an apple in there. It's black inside a skull, a bone.
Yeah.
What do you call it? A bowl. It's not quite a bowl. It's more. It's closed off.
Yes.
Your skull is pitch black and completely silent, and it must be. So how do we get all these colors and all these shapes and all these different objects in there? And every man's path is a little bit different. You could go the way of Boltzmann. You can go the way of science. You can go the way of just your own inner contemplations. All rivers flow to the sea. So you will find your own way, but it takes time, it takes patience, and it takes, really wanting to know. And that's the only thing that will decide whether you're successful or not.
But this also takes courage as well, or trusting the process.
Well, what is your alternative? Let's say you don't have courage and you don't trust the process. What are you going to do? You'll just suffer, my friend.
I was going to say, yeah.
And you'll live a life of either quiet or non-quiet desperation. Have you heard the saying, most men live lives of quiet desperation?
Yeah. I think you brought that
Well,
up.
haven't you lived enough? Haven't you lived enough desperation in your life already?
Yes, it is.
To see that's not the way to go. I mean, I'm not here to convince you, but what I'm trying to do is elicit your own common sense. What are your alternatives? We're headed for a world of AI. We have no idea what's going to come next, right?
Yeah, no idea.
So what is it that matters? What matters is actual reality. So head for those hills, right?
Yes.
And you'll find peace and understanding, and your life won't be wasted. Now, I sound like a preacher. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to convert you. I'm just trying to tell you and anybody that's listening that if you're not sincere, you might as well go, work for, work for Microsoft or something.
One thing that
But you can't be sincere and work for Microsoft. That's not a problem. But the sincerity is the thing that matters. Otherwise, your life, like the vast majority of human lives, is wasted.
Yeah.
And deep down in their hearts, as they're approaching death, they know it.
Things will be wasted.
So if there's anything to be afraid of, that's what you should be afraid of.
Yes.
And this is nothing new. This is what Buddha taught. This is what Jesus taught. This is what Muhammad taught. I mean, this is just the counsel of the men and women that we admire, Rabia, that we admire, right?
Yeah. Just a thing though, like you pointed out, this is
Socrates also. Go ahead.
Like you pointed out,
for the atheists out there, consider Socrates.
Yes.
Or Parmenides, or Pythagoras. Okay?
Yes.
This is not a religious enterprise. It's beyond religion. Way beyond. So Jesus didn't live to start a religion. That wasn't his goal in life. And that wasn't the Buddha's goal either. Is that clear?
Yeah, those are definitely clear. That's why I think some of them are really careful with their words. Like Krishnamurti was really careful with his words.
Yes. Yes.
A thing though, like you pointed out few moments ago, like this is the only way to attain peace. I feel like that puts in an expectation as well. Like,
okay, well then drop it. Drop it. If you think it's an unwarranted assumption, drop it. Like it says in the first thing that you read to me, if there's any belief or dogma,
yes,
then he says that's an obstacle.
Yes.
You're right. There's something of a carrot there. And we don't deal in carrots and sticks, reward and punishment.
Yes.
On the other hand, sometimes you have to get people to just see what's in front of them, find the nose on their face, pay attention to something that matters, because the world has so many really, really enticing distractions. They're designed to entice you away from things that matter. And now with these computers and these capacity to A/B test at large, huge scale, they can create all kinds of things that are designed to trap you.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Personally, from what I've observed, all this happens because the whole world actively tries to suppress this. Or not actively, I guess.
Yeah, the whole world is the donkey.
Yeah,
your mind is the donkey.
Like people
do the same thing. You'll realize that later. But you'll understand the relationship between the world and your mind. See, you're still in the realm of thought, and I think what you want to do, I don't know, but you can tell me, but I think you want to move to the realm of experience.
So about that, okay, take right now, for example, there is me who is talking, yet there is this awareness who is aware of me talking, and this me can keep asking about this awareness, what it means to die, what it means to give birth.
Go ahead.
But this awareness won't answer it at all. Like any answer I give is within awareness.
No, that awareness is still part of your mind.
I know, yes.
The awareness that's asking or watching or doing any of that stuff. I know, that is a big deal these days because, I don't know, I think it was, what's his name?
Spira?
Rupert Spira, yeah. He needs to throw a bone to, so people feel like they're making some progress, or I don't know. But see, that awareness is just another part of the brain.
I agree. Again, it's just a word. Like it's like the
exactly.
pointer to the moon.
Very good.
It's a pointer to the moon.
Exactly. Yes, and then people get caught up in it. Oh, good. That's a perfect example of not getting off the donkey. A perfect example of getting lost in the void. So you're going around in circles saying, well, I'm aware of this, I'm aware of that, I'm aware of this, but still there's an I, and still there's this awareness or whatever. And there's a time when you move from that to experience that's beyond thought, beyond models, beyond doctrines, beyond seeking even.
Yes.
And now you're getting much closer to reality. Oh boy, when you find out what reality is, man, you're going to laugh your head off, among other things. So don't worry. The only thing you have to worry about is insincerity and hypocrisy.
Again, you point.
And so maybe it might be good for you to go back to some Nasruddin too, because he shows you how goofy the mind is. Nasruddin is like a teacher of the mind.
It has a lot of paradoxes, and if you go with Gödel's, it will fall apart.
Exactly, and so this is very, very sophisticated teaching tales from the Middle East. Yes. Idris Shah, Mullah Nasruddin. There's like four short joke books that I recommend to everybody. All right, because if you can't get to the deeper stuff, you can at least enjoy the jokes.
Yes.
And some of them are truly funny. All right. Anything else before we stop? And I'm done with my little commercial for those books.
No.
Anything else?
No.
All right. Well, good. So keep going. That's what I would say, because I'm an old man and I care. So forgive me if I sound like I'm preaching, because this is not something I can give to anyone. The person either is a sincere seeker or she's not. And if she's not, there's nothing I can do. Do you see what I'm saying?
It's like you are pointing things through my awareness, but you can't do anything about it. Again, this is conceptualizing thing. I shouldn't talk about it.
All right, so then one more suggested exercise. So you're discovering interdependent origination, correct?
Yes.
You're starting. Okay. Apply that to yourself. Your separate word, self. Small s.